Welcome back, brothers and sisters, to Covenant Canon. With the beginning of 2021, we're one step closer to the release of Halo Infinite in the fall, and I think it's time that we explore a bit in Banished trivia. I think it's best that we go over certain trivia that we might not have known. For this, I'll be going over the 10 facts you probably didn't know about the Banished throughout the entirety of the Halo media. Before I begin though, I should warn some of you, this video will contain plot points from the recent Halo novel, Shadows of Reach, so a spoiler alert is now in effect. So, without further ado, let us begin. Number 10. Not all Saint Healy within the Banished are mercenaries. When it was announced that the Saint Healy would be fighting alongside the Jiralhanae in Halo Wars 2, many of us were in disbelief. I mean, these two races have hated each other for a long time, long before the Covenant fell apart, and especially after the Great Schism. When 343 confirmed that these elites would simply be mercenaries hired by the Banished, it made perfect sense. The Saint Healy were a warrior species, and it stands to reason that many of them pretty much want to continue fighting. But there have been some Saint Healy to have joined simply out of loyalty to Atrioxs in one shape or another. You may or may not be surprised to know this, but the Saint Healy are as diverse a people as any other. Some of them are honorable, some aren't. The most notable example of this is when the Silent Shadow unit under the command of Resha Azavel turned their back on their commander to join forces with Atrioxs. They grew tired of constantly hunting down Jiralhanae for revenge of what happened a few years ago. And honestly, they found this whole crusade meaningless. With Atrioxs, they found a new purpose: to fight and die, not for honor or for faith, but for themselves and to carving out a future that they choose. Other notable examples of this are Inslan Gadogai, an ex-Silent Shadow who joined the Banished sometime prior to the events of Shadows of Reach, until he was forced to defect to the Keepers of the One Freedom at the end of the book. Another example could possibly be the upcoming character Yegawu Damnai, the cyborg Saint Healy who is also part of the Hand of Atrioxs. And there are many other Saint Healy who feel this way also. I mean, not all of them can be Covenant or Sword to Saint Helios. Not all of them have to be religious fanatics, nor honorable warriors. It's never that cut and dry. Number 9. Some within the Banished still revere the Forerunners. One of the main reasons the Banished set themselves apart from the traditional Covenant group is that it isn't driven by any religious beliefs. In fact, most within the faction are irreligious. Most, but not all of them. Atriox's right hand, Decimus, was among these. When he entered one of the cartographers on the Ark, he was noted to have been in awe, an awe that was reminiscent to what a Jiralhanae would react when in the Covenant. And there were even some within the Banished that still believed in the Great Journey itself. I am, of course, talking about the Keepers of the One Freedom, back when they were just a sub-faction within the Banished during the events of Shadows of Reach. But when the portal to the Ark was open on the planet Reach, they broke off from the Banished, stealing Atriox's Lich and departing through the portal, intending on activating the array and beginning the Great Journey. So despite their loyalties to Atrioxs and all he stands for, some within the Banished, be they brutes, elites, or grunts, still have religious beliefs, regardless of their warlike nature. Number 8. The Banished have a supercarrier. Yep, you heard me. The Banished now have a supercarrier within their fleet. Since Halo Wars 2, we only had a small tidbits of what the Banished fleet was like. In the beginning, we knew that they only had one assault carrier, the Enduring Conviction, and a few Covenant cruisers. Throughout the years, we've seen their fleet grow from SDV corvettes and other ships. But in Shadows of Reach, we get confirmation that the Banished now have a supercarrier in their armada. This ship was used to prevent the UNSC from landing more troops on Reach. This was, I mind you, during the peak of the created uprising. Whether or not this ship is the same class as the CSO that we saw in Halo Reach is unclear, but if it is, the UNSC will have more to worry about than just Guardians hunting them down. Number 7. The Banished was formed during the events of the Prototype and the Heart of Midlothian. For years now, there has been a common misconception by some of you that the Banished was formed early in the Covenant War, by around 2535 I believe. But the initial Banished Rebellion didn't occur until later on in the war, between 2548 to 49, during the Covenant invasion on the planet Algolis. Most of you might not know this, but this event also occurred during the events of the Halo Legends story arc, The Prototype, and the Evolutions motion comic, The Heart of Midlothian. So when we see Atriox's origins explained in Halo Wars 2's cutscenes, what we're really seeing is the same conflict as Ghost and Baird fought in their respective stories. And it definitely makes sense for the Banished's origins, given how bloody that invasion was. Sending 40 brutes at a time? You're bound to get a slaughter. Number 6. The Banished are close to uniting the Jirohanai homeworld. With Atrioxs being the powerful and intelligent leader that he is also very popular with the wider Jirohanai community. As many know, without any stable leadership following the death of the Prophet of Truth in Halo 3, the brutes began fighting amongst themselves, igniting a civil war on their homeworld of Doisak. And for nearly 6 years, they warred over each other for resources, land, and power. But according to the Oni sections within the Phoenix Logs within Halo Wars 2 story and the Spartan Field Manual, the Banished's influence grew rapidly across the planet. Many brutes see Atrioxs now as a symbol to rally behind, and it seems that Doisak and probably the majority of Jirohanai might reunite under his leadership. And that's probably just a footnote to what Atriox's ambitions are. But just how stable would it be without Atrioxs around? Well, we'll just have to wait and see. Number 5. The Banished have a working relationship with humans. There are so many differences between the Banished and the Covenant, but their main differences is their treatment towards humans. Where the Covenant saw them as nothing more than infidels and heathens, the Banished on the other hand saw them more as assets when they can be useful or obstacles to be removed. And despite what the games may imply, the Banished is not openly hostile to the human race, just with the UNSC and the United Earth government. On the contrary, humans, like other Covenant species, could, theoretically, join the Banished, so long as they abide by Atriox's laws. But in practice, not so much, given that the wounds from the Covenant War were still fresh. While we haven't seen any Banished humans yet in the Halo media, the Spartan Field Manual confirms that Banished chieftains have established communications with human criminals. This could obviously range from mercenaries, criminal underworlds, etc. And I hope this is still a thing, because in Shadows of Reach, Atrioxs has something of a aggressive view on humans after returning from the Ark. But I think that's a topic for a different video. Number 4. There were Banished Kiki present during the events of Halo Wars 2. When it was revealed that the Banished would be a violent mercenary faction as the primary enemy faction within Halo Wars 2's story, it made perfect sense for the Kiki to appear as a member of the faction. I mean, their entire culture is based on piracy, raiding, collecting goods and trinkets, etc. But alas, this was not the case, with 343 confirming that there were no Kiki mercenaries present on the Ark. But for those of you who have bought the Walmart edition of Shadows of Reach, we got a little something in the short story, Sacrifice. You see, when the Banished chieftain Minus attempted to board the Forerunner Dreadnought, he had a companion joining him. It was a Kiki named Ikka. He was a slicer and a technician, and he was able to access the Dreadnought for the Banished. So it seems that there were Kiki on the Ark, but just not mercenaries. this Kigar could just be another technician that the Banished hired to help with their operations on the Ark. But the more likely reason is that Itka is an official member of the Banished. Like most Jirohanai and some Saint Healy, he may not care for profit or personal wealth. Maybe he actually believes in Atrioxs and the Banished cause. But whether this is the case or not is unclear. Only time will tell. Number 3. Atrioxs Mace inspired the Banished symbol. One of the most unique, and dare I say iconic weapons in the Halo series, Atrioxs' signature weapon, Chainbreaker, is more than just another energy-based weapon. Made from parts of a Saint Healy Bloodblade, it serves as the War Master's scepter, and it also serves as the inspiration for the insignia of the Banished. Dubbed the Mark of Atrioxs, it was modeled after the above view image of the mace and its energy blades. Modeled after a weapon of power and might, it was fitting for such a powerful symbol of Atrioxs' strength, cunning, and resourcefulness. Number 2. Escharum was Atrioxs' mentor. The big main villain said to appear in Halo Infinite, War Chief Escharum brought a new essence of bloodthirst and savagery. But apparently there's more to him than just that. According to Shadows of Reach, Escharum was once the mentor, or Deskalo, to Atrioxs himself. This brute helped mold Atrioxs into becoming the powerful War Master that we all know and love him today. Atrioxs is powerful, cunning, and strong enough to take down 3 Spartan 2s, ones who previously took down an entire squad of Saint Healy. If Atrioxs is capable of all this, one can only imagine what his mentor can bring to the table. He could be more than Master Chief could even handle. We'll just have to wait and see what this War Chief will dish out. And at number 1, the Banished isn't as united as you might think. Since the Banished was introduced, they seemed more organized than most Covenant splinter groups after the fall of the Covenant Empire. And that's saying something considering this is a group that's led by Jirohanai, and it relies on cooperation between other elements, mercenaries, species, etc. Sure, there have been moments of disobedience and some inner rivalries, but nothing that warrants any major discord. But Shadows of Reach shows us otherwise. See, when Atrioxs left for the Ark, he left Escharum in charge of the wider Banished forces in the Milky Way. Since the War Chief was once the War Master's mentor, he thought he could leave Escharum in charge and maintain order and stability. Unfortunately, he did anything but. Ever since Atrioxs departed for the Ark aboard the Enduring Conviction, chieftains and clans throughout the Banished warred with one another over resources, bases, you name it, all to gain Atrioxs' favor if or when he returned. This was evident on Reach, when 2 Banished clans, the Legion of the Corpse Moon and the Ravaged Tusk, clashed with one another over their respective bases, when they should have used their resources in finding the Slip Space portal to retrieve Atrioxs. This comes to show that despite Atrioxs' superb leadership, without his guiding hand, the Jirohanai will revert back to their savage natures. And given their warlike culture, it comes at no surprise that the Jirohanai within the Banished would go instantly at each other's throats. But with the War Master's return to the Milky Way, this instability isn't likely to last much longer. He'll probably beat the other clan leaders into submission, or reaffirm Escherum's position in the Banished. But who can say? And there you have it. That's my top 10 facts you probably didn't know about the Banished. What did you think about these small pieces of trivia? Do you think there was something I missed or overlooked? Leave a comment below. As always, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more Covenant, or in this case, Banished content, hit that like and subscribe button. And also hit that notification bell to get caught up on our latest videos. Until next time, may Atrioxs' eyes watch down upon you all, Pack Brothers. Covenant Canon, out.